Now, okay, welcome. Great to see everybody here and welcome to LinkedIn for Breakfast. So, this is our little bit of marketing madness that we do every week where we gather everybody together and we will unpeel a segment of what we see as being important when you're approaching marketing and very much LinkedIn focused. And today is no different, even though the subject is a little bit more broad around the power of one. So, just before we get started, we always like to remind people why we're here. And so, let me just jump, not into my emails, that would be very boring. Let's just jump onto the presentation and give you our mission for today. Okay, so power of one. Why do we do this LinkedIn for Breakfast stuff? Well, the whole point of this is that we want to make this the best place for you to learn about why LinkedIn is amazing for things like business development and brand expansion. It's super important to us to look at that and really think about, well, LinkedIn isn't just a place to go and look at jobs or consume content. It's a place where you can really grow your brand, get notoriety, get asked to go do speaking or whatever it is you want to do, plus also develop leads and get inquiries. And it's those two things that's our mission. That's why we do this. And our vision for this whole LinkedIn for Breakfast thing is to make this the best place on earth to learn LinkedIn for free. There is no sales pitch. There is nothing to sell you. This is a great free session, and tell your friends about it. We want to get as many people into this as possible because it helps us to be able to fulfill that mission. Here's the place that you should go to, and I think Flora's going to put into the chat any second now the link into this. All the recordings, replays, events, mini courses. We have a pod where we help and like and comment on each other's posts, all within our school community. There's 3,500 people in there. So if you're not in there, do jump in there and start building relationships with people and learning more about how to harness the power of LinkedIn. Okay, so what's our agenda for today? Well, the whole point of the first part is that we want to talk about this power of one thing. What is your one thing, and actually how should we be focusing it? I want to tell you a personal story about how I've kind of struggled with this and then been able to get laser focused on this. And it's been one of the reasons why we've been able to go on and be successful. And then we're going to do a little bit of audience participation. We're going to bring people together and get some ideas and questions from the room at the end. Cool. Good stuff. Okay, so this was an interesting quote that Heidi put into the group a little while ago. And she was saying that she was always good on focus, but it's occasionally that SOS, shiny object syndrome, overpowered by senses, right? And I'm absolutely no good at multitasking, and I can only do one thing successfully at a time. And it's so true, isn't it? We try and do multiple things, but ultimately, if you're trying to do multiple things, you do nothing well. And I want to apply that and work out, well, when you think about social media, when you think about business and all the different facets, you're like an octopus with lots of arms, having to be the accountant, the assistant, the salesperson, the managing director, the God knows what else, do the delivery. You win a client, you've got to deliver the client, then you're not winning any more clients. You've got to go win more clients, but then you fall out with delivery. It's hard, isn't it? And then you go, well, I need to go and dance the funky chicken on TikTok. I need to go and run highbrow articles on LinkedIn. I then need to be a YouTuber, and I've got to do my YouTube. But what type of YouTube do I need to do? Do I do shorts? Do I do long form YouTube? Now there's different types of YouTube. It's so many things that you're juggling constantly. And you can kind of feel like this, can't you? Where your energy, focus, and time is being pulled in all these different directions. And I certainly felt this way. There was a time in my life that I must have been going 1 inch forward in 100 different directions. So, for example, when I was growing my marketing agency, I was at the same time also growing this marketing agency, trying to employ people. That's the younger version of me in the middle, by the way. That's a few years ago now. So when I was growing my marketing agency, I also then applied to go on The Apprentice, and that's me back left trying to look very apprenticey. So then I had all of that stuff going on. And then when I came out of that, I decided to go and be a radio host on the BBC. And then one of my clients, unfortunately, was going out of business, and he had a boiler servicing business. And I thought, well, that'd be great. I'll go and buy that business out the receivers and we'll run that as well, because I think I'm clever. I can run these things as well. So I'm trying to run a radio show. I'm trying to do all the fallout from being on the TV. I'm trying to do all of this new business that I'm growing. I've got this boiler servicing business with 7 engineers on the road and 7 vans going on. And then I decided to set up a WordPress first aid business. So it's like first aid for your WordPress website. So it's like a techie support business with a business partner, Jake, there. And then at the same time, I'd run a monthly event and have loads of people in it. And it was nuts. And that was the complete definition of going 1 inch forward in multiple directions. And yes, although all those things look great, I was completely stressed out. They were being sellotaped together. They weren't profitable because I was having to pay people to go do lots of stuff, and we weren't really growing as well as we should do. And we just found ourselves in a place that on the surface looked like we're doing incredibly well, but actually underneath it, it was not. And I think sometimes when you have this scenario, the right mentor, the right book, or the right conversation happens at the right time. And this book by Jay Papasan, The One Thing, really, really came to pass for me. It was an amazing book. And I'm the sort of person that doesn't read lots of business books in the year. I must probably properly read about 4, probably 1 a quarter, but I don't read it. I reread it and I really go through it and I go deep on it. And actually, if I start one I don't like the look of it, I won't even finish it. I'll find that one that I really go for and I'll go seriously deep on it and I will implement it. I'll go in this example. I actually paid to go out to Austin, Texas with my wife on a goal setting retreat with the author to go and look at the entire business model and implement this one thing type model. And I think that's really important, actually. If you really are thinking about trying to do this, don't just gorge business books. Actually just spend, go through lots of them, go and spend time on them. And if you like it, actually implement. And that's one of the things that I did. And I also, another one, if to give you a tip, is Essentialism, which for me was another great book. It was a good top up of kind of the thesis of The One Thing. And what it teaches you really is to focus on one thing. Who would have thought, right? And by me going along and actually looking and going deep on this, I was able to ping out these kind of elements. It talks about how to create the results. And the idea was around this kind of live with purpose, live with priority, live with productivity, right? So this is all about going, well, actually, what does that mean? Well, if you can ask yourself the one question that says, today, what is the one thing I can do such by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary. What do I mean by that? Is that if you know where you're going, your ultimate goal, you can then line up these dominoes, right? So if I know that I've got this location or this revenue target or this business that I want to get to, or this ideal lifestyle, and actually, to be honest with you, it should probably be more personal than a arbitrary figure. It should be, hey, what do I personally want to achieve? And then line up the dominoes that take you from where you are now to that place. And this is the book teaches you that and works through. And ultimately, what that meant for me is I was able to take myself from this model on the left-hand side, which is all my energy, time, and focus being pulled in all these directions. And I was when I went over to Austin, Texas, I was in the process of selling that agency. We'd taken it to over $1 million revenue. We had 28 staff at the time, and we had an offer. That business ultimately went on to go and float on the NASDAQ. It was a nice little exit. That business was in the process of getting sold. And so then I also realized, well, actually, I need to then go and sell this boiler servicing business. I need to stop doing the radio. I need to pull away from all these things and just focus on my one thing, my passion, the thing that I want to go take forward there. And so instead of going 12 inches forward in 12 directions, I went 12 inches in one direction. And so therefore lined up the dominoes and was able to go further. And I think that is a really great analogy for we need to think about. Are you chasing too many target audiences? Are you working on too many social media platforms? Are you trying to do too many things? And it's those questions that I'm going to help you answer today. But just to kind of finish the story for me, it meant that around about just before COVID, I was running that big events thing called the Lead Gen Academy. And coming back from Austin, and also with COVID happening, we weren't able to do those in-person events. So we rebranded everything into $1 Million Sprint, which is our one thing. I only sell one thing at the moment, and I'll unpeel that for you. The only thing that I sell is $1 Million Sprint. It's like the Henry Ford of products, right? You can have whatever you want as long as it's $1 Million Sprint, right? You know, in his famous quotes, you can have whatever color you want as long as it's black, right? And it's that focus that you're able to prioritize. So I wake up every morning thinking about how can I make $1 Million Sprint better? How can I polish the product, polish the product, polish the product? In fact, I have a little note on my desk in front of me that says polish the product every day. And that's because by having just one thing, I can make it better. It's not a bronze, silver, and gold. It's not a number of different things. I can just have that one thing. Great stuff. And it's all around this kind of profit and productivity is that top of that iceberg. But what sits underneath this iceberg is priority and purpose. Right. So how? Let's jump onto a whiteboard of truth and justice, right? So let me jump onto this and draw out. So when we think about how do we work a one thing into a business, right? So it's all very good telling a nice story about having lots of businesses and all the rest of that fun stuff and then having to get rid of them. But actually, practically, when you think about what you're doing now, most of us are being told when they create a product that they should have some sort of ascending transaction model or some sort of value ladder, right? So when you try and win clients, you should go and give them some free stuff here. And then you should try and sell them something like a $97 thing here. And then you should try and get them on like a £197 product. And then maybe you can sell them your £1,000 product here. And then finally, they might buy your 10K thing, right? So it's the classic kind of, you need to ascend them up these different things. But everybody thinks that this is a great idea. And all the gurus tell you should do this. But they forgot that all they did at the start was they got people for free, and then they sold them a high ticket product at the top, and they got busy. So the most people would have sold some one-to-one coaching or whatever it is, and then they got busy. So then they had to go build the group program, and then they got busy in there. So they thought, well, I've got people who can't afford this group program, and then I'll build this, and then I've got people who do this, and then I build this. And they forgot that they built this after they got successful by selling the one thing. And most people teach this as you've got to build this straight away. But what really is this? Well, you're creating a suite of products that's going, well, you've got a bronze and a silver and a gold product. And I've got a few clients in this and a few clients in this and a few clients in this. But then one client wants the bit of bronze, but they don't really want the silver. So now you've got like a hybrid bespoke product. And then someone goes, oh, I don't want any of that. I want this left field thing. So I want this. Right. And then now, can you see that you've got suddenly your delivery is across all these things and you're being stretched in all these directions. Whereas if you don't do any of this, just don't launch this. Have just one product, have one key product. And let me just try and just get rid of this. Good stuff. If you just have this one thing, you can go from what we call F to F, and that's not face to face. That's blow their minds with free, right? So when you think about my model, how do I blow people's minds, right? Well, we create LinkedIn for breakfast. It is our mission is make it the best place on earth to learn LinkedIn for free, right? Just constantly, just make it the best shiny thing. What is the best thing that you can produce on the planet for free? And just constantly do it. There'll be people on this call that see me do these events and been part of our community for years, because I have been building this thing for years and blowing people's minds for free, and then sell them not bronze, silver, and gold set of solutions, but tell them the solution. Make it your flagship product, right? Your flagship. And so if you can blow people's minds for free and then sell them the solution, your flagship product, now you've got the best product that you can ever create and the best thing for free you can do. So now you've got two things that you're constantly working on. So set up your business like that. Just two hoppers, free flagship, free flagship. That's it. Not bronze, silver, and gold, but just the best thing ever, right? And then you can work upon how can I make that scalable. So how do we then go and take this power of one into it? Well, a business needs to have awareness, bring people from awareness into consider, into convert, and then into deliver, right? Your deliver is your flagship product, okay? And your flagship should be scalable. So ideally, yes, you might start off as one-to-one, just selling some people onto one-to-one or whatever it is, but try and then work towards some sort of scalable group program, something along those lines. And if you're a coach consultant, I can give you an idea of what that might be in a second. Same with marketing agencies, etc. We can show you how this might work in a second. But let's start off with awareness. So if you think about this, if you try and build awareness, i.e. people knowing and connecting and seeing you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, you've got different ways of doing that. You'll have connections that are different to your LinkedIn connections, that are different to your YouTube subscribers, and there will be measurements and ways of gaining those that are unique to each platform. So now your brain has got to be expert in 5 different platforms. And so if you are stretching yourself thinly across that, you can never be good. Go deep on one, and not just one. And I'm going to tell you LinkedIn because I bloody love LinkedIn, right? And most of us, I think, should probably be focused on LinkedIn. It's because LinkedIn allows you to use something like a basic search, or even just if you wanted to get all flash, you could use Sales Navigator for a search of really looking at, I want to target these type of people in this location with this revenue. You can't do that on Facebook. With this revenue, with this company headcount, can't do that with Facebook. And you can go super deep on getting the A+ target audience who you want to go and target, right? And yes, there'll be people out here to go, oh, but I could work with this and could work with that. If you're thinking, oh, I could work with this type of audience, target that, what you are stuck underneath is the word of mouth glass ceiling. If you're telling me that you could work with these and could work with that, it's only because you're butting your head up against a word of mouth glass ceiling. And the reason why is that you have to, when you're under that ceiling, take on any project that comes your way or anything that's been referred to you, or your old connections in corporate land versus who you'd like to work with, etc., because you need the work. And it feels like, oh, you could be working with both of those because those are coming towards you. Yes, but that's because you're under the ceiling. The people who smash through the glass ceiling are the people who go, actually, I work with this type of business and I help them achieve this solution. And that's the product that I work on. You then find that list within LinkedIn and you then connect and you post and you interact and you comment on their posts. You become abundant in their world, right? And so by doing that, that becomes the focal point. They are the people you're building awareness. Now, once you're building this awareness, we need to transition these people into what we call consider, right? So the consider piece is where we talk about blowing their minds for free. So this is just converting, this is some content, right? So they go from, oh, I understand that, Alex is something to do with bills and getting is it debt collection, Alex? Is it kind of collecting old debts?
No. So it's helping people pay less for their essential home services.
Great. Okay. So Alex is something to do with paying less on home services, right? We're now all aware of Alex, which is great, right? But now what we want to do is move Alex into Alex needs to move us into consideration when we go, well, actually, wonder what he says about that. So it's paying less on that, right? So what does that actually mean? And this is where the weekly moment concept comes in. What do we mean by weekly moment? This is the blow their minds for free. Produce something that is awesome consistently, and it means that they spend time. So what do we think about that? It could be one of these things, but not all of them. Power of one, right? So one place to build awareness. So one list on one social platform. So could be LinkedIn and could be like a really good quality demographic. And then make a weekly moment for them. So it could be a podcast, could be a video, long form video, like a long form YouTube video. So that can work well. Could be a newsletter, could be like a LinkedIn live, or could be a event like this one, right? So what I would say is you don't do all of them, because if you do all of them, then it's not a weekly moment anymore. It's just a set of content and you won't do them very well. But if you really made it the best event and focal point for that event, then you will get people coming along to it. If you really put your heart and soul into a podcast, it would be the best podcast. And we can all see great examples of this. You just look at Darian CEO and how well that's done, because he just made that the best thing that he ever did and just built that over time, right? And there's so many examples of that. Same with YouTube, right? So if you do long form video, you could do long form video on LinkedIn, by the way. You can post your podcast on LinkedIn and that becomes the place you build awareness and you make a podcast for that. You could do the same for video, right? Same with newsletter. LinkedIn newsletters are awesome. LinkedIn lives are awesome. But the reason why I like events is because you can get bookings and you can see people and you can talk to people and you can interact. And so you can't see who your subscribers are on the podcast. And so it's not as good as seeing people actually come and physically be at events or come to a live, right? So just think about getting the right weekly moment, but have one and make it awesome. And then at that, then put call to action into what we call one value session, right? So this is convert. This is not like, hey, do you want to come onto a call so you can buy my stuff? So we come along and Alex is going to give us the 7 mistakes people make when trying to save money on their bills, right? So this is his event. He invites us all onto this. We book onto it. And then at the end, he doesn't go, oh, do you want to go and have a call with me so I can sell you some of my stuff? He goes, hey, if you like, I'll spend some time with you and we'll do a bill audit and I'll go through it all and I'll let you know where all the places you can save are. It's a totally free session. And by the end of it, I'll guarantee that you'll be able to find places to save you thousands of pounds a month, right? And that will be like, well, okay, well, that sounds fine. Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I'm happy to spend 45 minutes with Alex in exchange for him being able to save me £1,000 plus on my bills. And he's doing that for free, right? So you can see how we have got now one-to-one branded focal point, right? So this is one-to-one. So we're doing into an audience, one-to-many here, but one thing, one-to-one. So it's one call to action from one weekly moment, right? And then once we do that, you could go say, oh, here's how you could save the money in the value session. And at the end, you can say, and if you want to, you could buy my Bill Detective service where I will be able to help you to be able to do X, Y, and Z at faster, quicker, better, stronger, right? So I can get that £1,000 for you and I'll do it for you, right? So it's the solution. So I've shown you the pain that you've got and the opportunity, but then here's the solution and it's only going to cost you X and the upside is Y, which far outweighs the cost, and bam, it becomes a no-brainer, right? So you've got one solution for one value session, for one weekly moment, for one audience. That, my friends, is all you then do. So therefore, you constantly are getting more and more people in here. You're constantly polishing this and making better. You're constantly perfecting how this is run so it gets more value and also converts better. And you're then constantly delivering and making your flagship better. And here's the cool thing. Once you're developing a flagship product, you can then start to optimize because you're working with the same type of people, delivering the same type of product, which allows you to then remove yourself from every part of that. And so bring a team in. So no longer you're stuck at the coalface. You are then managing, and then ultimately you can bring a manager in. And before you know it, you pop out the top. So all of this is run for you. That, my friends, is how the power of one should be applied to a business. There's only 4 segments to a business. And by getting those 4 segments absolutely rocking and rolling, you will succeed. Super, super important. Cool. Okay. So with this in mind, I just want to throw it into the room and just get some ideas on how people, what people's thoughts are around there, and any questions that they might have in terms of implementing this, or any worries and concerns. Because most people will go, oh, I've got this challenge or that challenge, and I love to try and unpeel that in a bit of an interactive section now. And then don't drop off, because I've got an opportunity for you guys to be able to have your LinkedIn profile audited by my team as well. But I'll just tell you about that in a second. Just want to get people's thoughts first. So into the room, big guys. Opinions around this, or any questions they've got in terms of implementing this? David.
Okay. Hi, Richard. Great to be here again. Thank you. You know, you've just broken the whole concept of what number of people, as you said, gurus teach you. And I myself have been battling with that for a long time. You know, what are all the intermediary steps whilst I've got a flagship? So I'm basically doing what you're doing, and I must say it's just changed my whole business around. So I highly recommend what you've just said, and I support it. I think it's the way to go. You know, focus on one thing, and that's what I'm doing now. So thanks for this. So you really confirmed what I'm doing. So kudos to you.
Absolute pleasure. No, thank you. And look, guys, one of the common things that people will say is that, yes, I've got my flagship, but actually, for example, you might have a website developer who then develops websites, but actually then needs to charge a little hosting fee or something afterwards, or there's a little upsell, cross-sell. It is totally fine if people are buying your flagship to have a little upsell thing or a little thing that they clamp onto the flagship. It's totally fine. But you lead with the flagship. You never sell the upsell first before the thing. You get them to buy the main thing. And then if there's like a logical upsell, cross-sell, introduction, whatever, fine, no drama. You've got your pool of clients. You can push little bits into there all the time. That's no problem. But the main thing is have the main thing, right? Questions. So we got one from Taranji here. So the question in the chat is, would you start a new LinkedIn profile if you're changing industries starting from scratch? No, but a really good question, right? So one, if LinkedIn sees you having two profiles on LinkedIn, and this is a lot of people are basically have this scenario and they haven't yet hit the iceberg with the Titanic yet in terms of LinkedIn, but it's coming to them, right? And what I mean is, if you have two LinkedIn profiles as two different people and you're logging into them both and you're using the same IP address, at some point, LinkedIn will see that, and LinkedIn could well take both of them down. We've seen it before. So you might have one that you've been building for ages, is all your kind of corporate friends and all your connections, the rest of it you've had for years. And then you set up a new one for your small business because you're transitioning. And what happens is that because you set up that second business, it takes them both down, and you're like, oh my God, how can that happen? Seen it loads of times. So what you want to do is you need to transition your current profile into the new, right? And so think about it this way. And this is a really interesting thing to think about. And so let me just, I want to try and move this. Yes, perfect. Okay. So let me go back into this. If you think about your LinkedIn connections and you look at your connections like this, and we want to go, you remember we talked about this awareness, we want this perfect list of people, right? And you're going to try and get them into this consideration thing, right? This weekly moment. Now, if you are trying to target accountants, and they are your audience here. This is the accountants here. But actually, your audience is only about 10% accountants. And the rest is all your old corporate people or friends or colleagues or your whatever mates in here. It means that if you go and do a post that's like, hey, come along to my event, and you post it into your current audience, only 10% would that be relevant for based upon this. And so the problem is that LinkedIn will only give you a reach for, say, to start off with, maybe it gives you a 100-person reach. And if you only get one person, or sorry, 10 people out of the 100 people that is relevant for, and those 10% aren't happen to be on LinkedIn at that point, or don't like, or don't comment, or don't do anything, and you get a tiny little bit of engagement, then the post will get like nothing. And then it will just go down, and your post doesn't do well at all, because the reach that it gave you to start off with got nothing. Whereas if this was more like 50% that is right target audience, then 50 people are going to be served this post that's specific for them. And so now the likelihood is that you are going to get some engagement on this, which then gives you a bit more of a leg up, and it will gift you another, say, 100-person reach. So now we've got 200 people reach, of which 100 are going to be right. And then you might get a bit more. And so your post actually will go up and up and up based upon you being given more reach. But of course, if the initial 100 people this go to and the 50% or the ones that were accountants were the only ones that were looking at it, then the second boost of reach that the algorithm will give you will be towards this accountant focused demographic. And if it then keeps from seeing that these accountancy type people are liking and commenting that post, then your reach, not just to your current connections, but also to your second plus third degrees, will be based upon target demographic. And so then that creates the viral effect. Remember, LinkedIn wants your post to go viral because it wants content that keeps people on the platform and engaged. And so by creating stuff for your target audience that is mind-blowing and is the best thing ever, that is what it wants. But you just got to give yourself a better chance of success at the start by making sure that the right people are liking and commenting on it, and then the algorithm will pay off. So do remember that. And so what I would suggest is, if you're transitioning, or if any of us have got big connections, I would actually try and start to unsubscribe with ones that are incorrect and start a connection request campaign with ones that are correct, that are right. And you can send out about 100 connection requests a week. If you're unsure on kind of how that works, we've got or a strategy around connections. If you are in the LinkedIn for Breakfast school group, go check out this part of the classroom here. And there's this make sales from LinkedIn in 5 days challenge here. And so day one is all around optimizing your LinkedIn profile, and that will really help. And then day three brings in the connection request piece into here. So this challenge will really help in terms of getting out, not just to your new connections, but also into your first degree current connections as well. So that's well worth having a look at. And look, guys, as I mentioned, and I will take the next question in a second, but as I mentioned, if you're kind of unsure on getting your LinkedIn profile right and actually how to set it up to the right people, who you should be targeting, what should your one thing be, how do you go do those searches, like we said in Sales Navigator, we offer this free LinkedIn profile audit, totally free, no catch. And it's 45 minutes, personalized one-to-one audit. And in there, we're going to be talking about your headline. We're talking about your photo and banner design. We're talking about maximizing recommendations to help with your credibility. We're talking about writing your about section as a sales letter, looking at things like lead generation, really, really important elements in here. So this is totally for free. So if you haven't had one of these already, jump into here. I'm going to stick this into the chat here. So give me 2 seconds. Jump onto this link. They are limited. So please do jump into that. And here you go. And you can look at this. And look, yeah, we've only got 2 spaces left this month, guys. So gobble those up. So there's one at 10 a.m. on Friday, and there's one at 11 o'clock on Monday. That's it. If you cannot make those, or they get booked up whilst on this call because someone's grabbed them, could you just put into the chat waiting list, and we'll add you to the waiting list, and I'll ask my team then to personally reach out to you and book you into a convenient time when the next ones open up. But they are limited and there's only a few of them, so it's definitely worth there. But if you can't get to those, then put waiting list and we'll add you onto the waiting list, because we have a waiting list running currently for these, because obviously, as you can tell, they probably are quite popular. Great. Okay. So let's jump onto this. So we had Peter. So Peter saying, Richard, we sell holidays as affiliates for many companies. So in theory, everybody is a target audience. How would you narrow that down? Okay, so where are you, Peter? So Peter, I think the point is that whenever you look at the really successful travel agents that are kind of still out there, because obviously the days of the big old school kind of travel agents are struggling. It's the riches are in the niches, as the Americans say. So you've got the premium type people, that are doing these travel sites. So they're gathering up specifically into a target audience that wants to do tailored trips, or you've got like the adventure travel agents and they're going into that target demographic, or you've got X, Y, and Z. So having that real defined niche and expertise in a certain area is how this would work. So although your flagship product isn't the one holiday to this hotel, in this time of year, actually, if you were, there's a great example of Canterbury Travel. So Canterbury Travel, we used to go take the kids to Lapland to go see Father Christmas. It was brilliant, amazing trip. But that's the same company that I went when I was a kid, when my folks took me, and they have been doing that same type of trip over and over, and they're now a huge company, completely dominating that space because they doubled down on that type of trip. And I would like to work out actually what the entrepreneurial journey is. Actually, I'll probably do a bit of research with quite a nice case study, but I'm sure if they were looking to exit, there's a big exit there one day. They have dominated that marketplace, and they were just a little travel agent in Canterbury, right? So it's that is where it would apply. So sometimes it's being known for one thing, right? And getting really good at that. Does that help, Peter?
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, we're trying to find the right niche as we go, and a lot of people are going into the cruise market, but we're trying to find something, because with the older generation, we sort of wondered whether we'd better off gearing ourselves more to the older population and perhaps river cruises or rail journeys or something like that. But it's just finding the right way through.
Well, mass baby boomers, biggest generation coming through. If you look at the success of Branson has followed the baby boom generation all the way through, hasn't he? From air flights all the way through to trains, and I'm sure there's going to be retirement homes just around the corner for him. So it's that. Yeah. So if you get really focused on that, then it will be great. I worked with the guys. They did Tunisia, where that was their big thing, and they did great on it. They just focused on Tunisia. So working it that way.
Okay, thank you.
No worries, good stuff. Questions, guys. Who's got a question? So who's got this? So Alex, what's your question? Alex Wilson. Where are you, Alex? Do you want to ask it? Go for it.
Sorry. Yeah, so it was just a question regarding newsletters. Is there specific templates and guidance to leverage more in terms of like your call to action, that the free audit that I offer, that would generate more conversations?
Yeah, so the way that we would work, do you do a link? You're talking about LinkedIn newsletter or just a generic newsletter?
Yeah, I done your audit, profile audit last week, and that was a recommendation, but I put one on and wasn't really seeing a lot, but I've just learned something about awareness and target audience that I need to do first. So that's maybe part of the issue.
Okay, no worries. Well, look, I tell you what, let's not worry then about yours. So it will be a case of growing. What I would say when you go on to a LinkedIn newsletter is make sure it's pinned in the featured section. And I only like to have two things pinned because it makes them big. We have our free value session and we have our newsletter, right? So those two things were big and bold. It's our conversion optimization. Then it's the only thing on LinkedIn that's a one-click subscribe like that, which is perfect because it means that you can generate those soft leads by people coming onto your profile and seeing it, right? And then by getting this, it's not about the additions, the actual publications. And if anybody wants to have a look at our LinkedIn newsletter, I've put it into the chat here for you now, guys. If you want to go jump on that and subscribe to that, you'll be able to see how this works. And if you look at this, I, and only I, and you'll be the same for yours, can see your subscribers. And the beauty of this, the most recent subscribers are at the top, right? So here they are. So by seeing these subscribers at the top, I can then make the decision to go, oh, okay, well, actually, this person who's an aspiring professional probably isn't my target audience. So she can subscribe to my newsletter, no worries at all. I'll leave her. But Bonnie here probably is my target audience. The irony is that Bonnie's actually just become a client. So she's just subscribed. So that's great. So I can, if I wasn't connected with her, I could connect with her, I could send her a message. So what I'm saying to you is that you would go through this and go, okay, the most recent people are this. So then I'd go right click, I'd view this person. I would then jump onto them and I'd be thinking about this and go, oh, this person looks like a good potential audience. She's made the first move. She has subscribed to my newsletter. She has gone on my profile and she has followed me. So she's kind of, looks like she's definitely worth a conversation. So I would then go press connect because she hasn't connected. This is the thing about a newsletter, gang, right? There are so many lurkers, particularly if you've got the free version of LinkedIn, you can't see who's seen your profile. You can see like 3 people who've seen your profile and the rest, right? So by having a newsletter, it's like a little honeypot that people then go subscribe to, which then pings to me, oh, Camilla was interested enough to subscribe, but she didn't send me a connection request. She only followed me. So I don't know who's following me. I don't get those connection requests. So then I go and then I send with a no, and I'll say, hi, Camilla, thanks for subscribing. How are things in this crazy world, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm saying, subscribing to my newsletter, subscribing. Anyway, oh my God, what happened to the little red wiggly lines? Anyway, the whole point, and I won't go and put this out now, but I'll be saying to her, look, thanks for subscribing. So she's made the first move, right? So she's done that. And then I'm saying, how are things in this crazy world? So I'm then not going, do you want to go have my free value session? I'm just getting her to have a conversation. Then when she comes back, she'll be able to go, oh yeah, things are good to do this. And then I might say, well, look, what are you working on this quarter? And she might go, I'm doing this. Go, oh, that's really interesting. By the way, I've noticed a couple of things on your profile that could definitely look to improve. We offer a free profile audit. Would you be interested in doing that? Bam, now we're in, right? And so it's starting conversations and working it and building that connection, right? That's the whole point. So that's how I'd work it. So don't worry about the additions, just start to build it out. And if you want to know more, gang, by the way, inside the community, inside the classroom, we've got a full training on your LinkedIn newsletters here. So there is a link into here, and I'll stick that into the chat as well, LinkedIn newsletters. So if you're interested in learning more, watch that video specifically on it. Nice. Good. Okay, so Sue, let's grab your question. And just before we do, I can see there's a few people who've asked to be in the waiting list, and also those bookings, I believe they have gone. There might be 1 or 2 left. So if you do want to have a LinkedIn profile audit, even if you just want someone just to reach out with some convenient times to you, just put waiting list into the chat and we'll be able to look over your profile audit, give you some ideas around the stuff that we talked about today. Sue, over to you.
Yes, hello, hi. I did put a question in the chat. I don't know if you saw it. And I've also got another question. I'm losing my voice. The question in the chat was, did I hear correctly that one person cannot have more than one business profile? Because I've got 2 completely different businesses with 2 different profiles.
Different things. So there's profile. So there's Richard Woods is a profile. So it's my personal profile. And then there is pages, right? So I have a company page for LinkedIn for Breakfast, $1 Million Sprint, previous companies that I've owned have got companies pages that I'm still associated with. So you can have as many company pages as you want, but in terms of a profile where you can proactively send connection requests and DM people, you should only have one. And if you've got more than one, then you're on course to hit the iceberg at some point with LinkedIn.
Wow, I don't think I understand the difference at the moment. So I've booked audit call, so maybe I can ask them.
So just so you know, just because so it's a one use. So if you've already had a LinkedIn profile audit, which
I haven't. I haven't.
then
I had one with you, but if you recall, we didn't actually do the audit. We had another conversation. So I have booked another call, but I haven't had an audit yet.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
We'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. Can I ask another quick question?
So I was going to continue to answer your question just to kind of help out here. So where you think about this. So when you go down to the profile, and you got experience in here. So you got your founder, you can see these different businesses. These are the businesses. You then click on this. That's a business page, right? So with followers and pages and recent posts and all that sort of stuff, right? So these are pages versus then coming back out, you got into personal profile, right? So that's the difference. This is my personal profile.
Okay, I'm struggling a bit to grasp that. I'll have to I'll have to have a look at it again. The other quick question was, I've never thought to make contacts into followers, and I think you said do both, and I'm very unclear about the advantages of having or being a follower as opposed to a connection.
Yeah, so when someone follows you, it means that they're following. They haven't sent you a connection request, but they want to follow your content. So they're happy to follow you, but maybe they feel like it's a softer way of kind of continuing to see what you're saying versus actually connecting. Whereas if you are someone like so for example, I will have plenty of followers like that lady who was just getting into professional, is who my first subscriber that we showed there, an aspiring professional, I think she said. So someone like that will follow me, but I wouldn't connect with them because there would not be a need unless she was applying for a job or something along those lines, right? And then we might look at her, right? But if she was a owner of a UK-based service sector business, then I would then send her a connection request. So it's about kind of vetting who's following you and who you're connecting with and making sure you're only connecting with target audience, and you then allowing anybody to follow you, right?
Okay.
Cool. No drama. Giles, over to you. And sorry if I missed anybody.
Thanks very much for the great session. Can you give me a sense of the conversion rate between the stages in your pipeline building process? And just to keep things simple, let's use your service, right? So we are in a consider moment, I believe, right? We are in on the webcast. What's the percentage conversion from consider to potentially the value moment we might experience together if I asked you to kind of give me an audit of my profile, and then finally the time that I would then be convinced that I need you to realize this value and I'll be prepared to kind of pay for hopefully your flagship service? Would you be able to kind of use your service or something similar if you don't want to give the full game away, right? But just to give us a sense of the kind of the business model, because all of this, of course, requires work and it's useful to kind of have this kind of this bird's eye view of the pipeline building. Would that be possible?
Definitely. So this is what we would target clients on. So kind of what $1 Million Sprint does is that we do the whole, what you're seeing today, we do for our clients, right? So when we take on clients, we're targeting them and we want to build to these figures over time. But we're targeting a 30, 20, 5, 2, right? And this is optimized, polished really, machine working nicely, right? So what does this mean? So that means 30 bookings into your event. If you get 30 bookings, then we should, with the right, so there's a whole process of getting this right. So the right reminder messages, the right kind of DMs, the right way of booking people in, get 20 attendees at an event. If you get 20 attendees with the right value session, the right call to action, the right follow-ups, you should get 5 sales meetings. So that's value sessions. And if you get 5 value sessions, then with the right pitch, with the right product, with the right flagship, with the right offer, you should get 2 sales. So that means 30, 25, 2. Now, here's the cool thing, right? If you do a weekly event like we're doing, then all you need to do every week is just to get 30 people to book onto the event. And if then the rest of this is dialed in, it's going to give you 2 sales a week, which is going to be over 100 clients in a year. And for most people who are trying to be able to scale, say you were selling something that was 5K, then that's a £500,000 business. Happy days. Thank you very much. Focusing just on that 30 bookings.
And I guess the one of the key points you've made here is just to focus on one offer, right? Because if you focus on more, then clearly you're diluting your things. Okay. So one final question.
And just so I can just build that, and then we'll go on to the final question. Yeah. The nice thing about it, right? So if I only need 2 sales, so if it's 2 sales of the right product, then it means that those people go straight into an onboarding sequence, and the deliverability of that should be really easy. It should be nice and easy to build that out, and it's of a decent value. So it means that I only spent 5 hours. So I spent 5 hours here doing sales meetings, and I spent 1 hour doing my event. So that means total deliverability of my time to be able to achieve 2 sales, so 10K a week, was 6 hours of time. That's it. Particularly if I can get a VA to be able to help me with these bookings and all the rest of it. Obviously, the premise of what we do, we give our clients a VA who works 4 hours a day, 5 days a week for them doing this. So by removing yourself from having to work this system and making this system work for you, then you are actually just doing sales meetings, and you are just therefore doing the event. So you do the jazz hands at the front and go, hey, look at this. And then you're just doing sales meetings. That becomes the only thing you need to do. And then ultimately, Giles, you can remove yourself from doing the sales meetings as well. So then you're just doing this lovely bit where you're in front of people enjoying it. Or, we got clients who don't need to have that volume. We got clients that start with us who go, crikey, I couldn't take on 2 clients a week. I'm probably good for 2 a month. And so we go, great, no worries. Let's go newsletter, event. So we do a weekly newsletter, monthly event. And then that is a nice rhythm to work. And so you just pull more people into the event. So you probably get, instead of getting 30 bookings, you might go for 50 bookings at the event, which might give you your 3 to 4 clients in a month. And then that is another way of working it. So just trying to look at that. Cool. I hope that helps, Charles. What was the second part?
So do you have one price tag for your service? Is it like, to keep things simple, 5K, and that is a commitment of a year? Is it, or is it like a subscription model, or is it like a project type thing?
Yeah. So the recommendation in terms of how you should work, and I'm happy to tell you what ours is, because it is just one price and it's really simple. But for you could be doing if you had just one price, then it's perfect. You just then get really good at being able to sell that. Now, people would have to have a conversation with us about what this actually feels like in terms of our pricing model. But ours is simple. We're less than $3,000 for our product. So
you sell a product and you sell it at around about that 3 to 5K. Okay.
Well,
and that's what you do. I'm asking for you because this is the business model that we've got to think that we've got to at least one proof point, which is your business model, right? But it's okay. So that's clear. Well, look, I need to jump off to another meeting. Thank you so much. It's been very valuable. Let's keep in touch.
No worries. Good
Take
to
care.
see you. All
Bye-bye.
right, cheers. Right, thank you for that, and loads of information there. David, I'm going to take your final question. And if you're $1 million sprinters, you're here for our 10 o'clock session. Good, stay tuned because we'll be starting that. But if you are dashing off for your LinkedIn for breakfast, we will take David's last question. Please do reach out for a slot in the waiting list if you want to talk about things. We'll loop back to people with the recording, and thank you again for your time. David, last question to you.
Yeah, I'll keep it pretty short. Really enjoyed your session last week, and I built some carousels, which I've got some limited engagement. I've got quite a number of members in various LinkedIn groups, which add up to about 25,000 members, and I've posted the carousels on those LinkedIn groups. But the amount of engagement I've got has still been pretty low. And I'm just wondering, how long does it take for the LinkedIn algorithm to actually kick in and to actually become more effective? What's the sort of time scales? What's that expectation should be?
Well, it's like all algorithms. It just depends on what you're pushing in, right? So not every post is going to work. So you just got to remember that you try something and it doesn't work this time. Okay, fine. You want to try something different? You just got to keep on trying, because it might just be one post goes completely viral and then that changes the game. So that's all you can say. Try maybe a poll. What a poll is, like a carousel, and it's consistency and it builds up over time. So that's all I can say. Like the format of a carousel is a high engagement based format. The content you put into the carousel will be the difference between a great carousel and a underperforming carousel. It's difficult, isn't it? Because it is all about actually the content. Right, I've got to finish 10 o'clock. Thank you so much. What I'm going to do, just for simplicity, guys, LinkedIn for $1 million sprinters, jump straight back on this link. I'm going to close this meeting down. It's going to finish and then jump back onto this. LinkedIn for breakfast. Great to see you. See you next week, or see you on a